series entitled The Law of Yah, the Law of Christ. And you guys know what our journey has been. We've been proving that there is only one law of Yah. And Christ did not do away with the law or the prophets when he came. He came to fulfill them. And we've gone from Genesis to Revelation to really prove that fact without even really dealing with the law just yet. So we're going to continue in that vein. We stopped in the book of Romans. We read through the book of Acts, and we're going to go back through a couple of chapters in Acts just to prove some things that Brother Paul has written in the book of Romans. And we're just going to continue to prove this thing out because, you know, and again, just remember what Peter told the brethren, and that is that Paul's writings is sometimes hard to be understood. And that's only if you don't have a foundation in the word of Yah. Once you have your foundation in the scripture, or what they call the Old Testament, which is really just what? The scriptures, which is the Old Covenant, because they really should never have changed the word from covenant to testament, because they are two separate things, as we learned last week. A covenant is everlasting. It doesn't have anything to do with when you are born or when you die. But a testament is only in effect once you are dead. It's like a will. That's what a testament is. So there was no need to change the verbiage or the word from covenant to testament, because they're two totally separate things. Last week, we confirmed and proved that it is just one covenant. The everlasting covenant is the same. It was made with a set group of people, and that people became the people of Yah, and it is an everlasting covenant. And Yah cannot change his mind about what he said with that covenant. So we're going to continue in that vein, just dealing with the what they called, well, the new covenant, if you will, and the letters that these brothers wrote to confirm the new covenant, which meant that in order for Yah to keep his covenant with his people, we had to have a better redeemer. We had to have a better work of the law, or justification of the law. And that's where Yahshua comes into play. He is not only a better redeemer, he is the best redeemer, because the law says eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, limb for limb. So the blood of a man had to be shed in order to what? Redeem man back to the Creator. Not the blood of an animal. That's unfair. The animal didn't do anything. And it's the reason why we are still living in a sinful state is because of the works of Adam. So in Adam, all die. In Yahshua, all are going to be made alive. But just like Adam was given the laws, so Yahshua has come to confirm the law. And now there won't be an animal that's going to be killed that will redeem you back to Yah. Yahshua's blood will do that, not the blood of the animal. And remember, when we read in Genesis, after Adam and Eve sinned, Yahweh killed an animal, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And poured out the blood, but he also to cover their sins, but he also made them coats from the animal, right? To cover their bodies, their natural flesh. So praise Yah, a covering, or what is it called? A propitiation for our sins has always been in the earth since Adam sinned. And that's why it's important that we understand that the Mashiach is what? The second man, Adam.
Right.
Again, in Adam all died. In the Mashiach shall all be made alive. So that's why it's so important to understand that the covenant is an everlasting covenant made with our fathers, made with us. And the only way that we will be partakers of the goodness of the covenant is through the propitiation of the blood of Christ. No longer the deeds of the law, meaning the animal sacrifices, but the blood of Christ. And that's what really all the letters in the new covenant is all about, trying to tell not only our people, but also the Gentiles. So let's pick up devotional reading. We're going to pick up Ecclesiastes Chapter 12. This is really talking about remembering the Creator during the times of the end, when, you know, before the tribulation, before the terrible times come upon us, remember our Creator. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw near, when you shall say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. And we know that there's going to come a time right before the Mashiach comes that the sun and the moon is going to not shine. It's going to be dark. And y'all remember when he left, right before he left, that darkness came over all the earth, right? It was before sundown, but darkness was all over the land after he gave up the ghost, right? So right before he comes back, the same thing is going to happen. Darkness. And then you'll see the light. And you'll see Yahshua coming in the clouds. Okay, verse 3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, in other words, the leaders, right? And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets. When the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was. In other words, man returned to dirt, right? And the spirit shall return unto Elohim who gave it. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yes, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished. He's talking about the words of the wise, right? By the words of the wise, be admonished. And be admonished, of the making of many books, there is no end. And much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yah and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For Yah shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Praise Yah. And why is that? Because the letters of your life is being recorded. And that's the thing. We can slide by man, but we can't slide by the angels of Yah who's recording every single thing. Because how else can y'all judge everybody? Amen. Hallelujah. All right. Subject is the law. Did they keep the law? Did Paul teach the law, or did he teach against keeping the law? Which is what some said, right? So we're going to see. Romans chapter 4. And Sister Johanna, you fill up the reading? All righty. Pick up Romans chapter 4. Pick up verse 1.
Okay.
4. We ended chapter 3 last week.
Romans chapter 4, verse 1. What shall we say then that Abraham our father, as pertaining to the flesh, hath found? For if Abraham were justified by works, he hath whereof to glory, but not before Elohim. For what saith the scripture? Abraham believed Yah, and it was counted unto him for righteousness.
Okay, now Paul is saying to the Gentiles and the Jews that he was talking, that he had wrote this letter to, the people that the brethren that lived in Rome, he's telling them what saith the scripture.
Yes.
So that lets you know right there that the scripture is the old covenant, And he's referring to the old covenant in the letters that he wrote. That's so important.
Yes, it is.
We got to make sure we understand that. The same with any of the apostles and Luke and all of them that wrote letters that we now call the New Testament or New Covenant. Okay? So he's asking a question in verse 3. He says, for what saith the scripture? Or what the word contained in the old covenant, right? Abraham believed Yah, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Okay? What is righteousness? Walking in the law, right? Okay. Go ahead, sister.
Verse 4. Now to him that worketh is the reward not reckoned of grace, but of debt. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness.
And what did we say that the works that Paul was speaking of, or the deeds that Paul was speaking of last week, or week before last?
Animal.
The sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
The blood of animals covering or justifying you from the sin that you had committed. Okay, so when he says, now to him that worketh, he's talking about the works of the law. Okay.
All right, so verse 6. Even as David also describeth the blessedness of the man unto whom Elohim imputeth righteousness without works, saying, blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered.
Praise Yah.
Blessed is the man to whom Yahweh will not impute sin.
Blessed is the man to whom Yah will not impute sin. In other words, hold you guilty
Yes.
for your sin.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, sister.
Verse 9. Cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness.
Praise Yah. Now he said, does this blessing, the fact that Yahweh will decide who he's going to impute sin to and who he's going to hold guilty, is that just on the Jews, the circumcision? And Paul is telling these Gentile converts, no, it's not just to the circumcision, it's to the uncircumcision also. Because when Yahweh talked to Abraham and made the promise, did he do it when Abraham was in uncircumcision or in circumcision?
Uncircumcision.
Uncircumcision. Okay, so read that, sister, and then we're going to read. Did you read verse 10 already?
I did.
Okay, read it again.
How then reckon? When he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision.
Okay, so let's go see. Let's go to Genesis. Hold your place right here. We're coming back.
Okay.
So let's go to Genesis chapter 17, and we're going to read verse 1 through 14 and verse 23 through 27. Because you see the words circumcision and uncircumcision throughout the letters that these brothers wrote. And a lot of the controversy was around the actual act of circumcising the Gentiles, right? And so we're going to read that, and we read some of it when we went through the book of Acts, right? So we got to understand how important the covenant, the everlasting covenant is that he made with Abraham, and the fact that he gave circumcision as a token of this everlasting covenant. But he made the covenant with Abraham before he was circumcised. So it said that Abraham believed Yah, and it was accounted unto him for righteousness.
Right.
The covenant is, I'm going to make you a father of many nations. He said, and your seed is going to be my seed, and I'm going to give you this whole land of Canaan, which is Eden. Okay? That's the covenant.
Yes.
And then he said, take your children that is bought with your money, all your servants that was born in your house, and circumcise them. That's the token of the covenant. So it wasn't just a token of the covenant for just Abraham, because Abraham didn't even have no kid. Well, he had Ishmael, but did that count? So he also circumcised the uncircumcised, which is the nations, right? Okay. So having faith and walking in righteousness has to do with what? Your faith in Yah. Believe in Yah, fear of Yah.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about what? Killing no animals. Because you're going to do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
All right, so let's pick up the everlasting covenant that he made with our father Abraham. And let's confirm what we just read in Romans. Sister Johanna, pick up chapter 17, read verses 1 through 14, and then verses 23 through 27.
We're talking, we're thinking about the old covenant people who, I guess they don't want to deal with Paul and his writings. They don't want to.
Right, because Paul went around preaching Yahshua to the nation.
Right.
But isn't that who sent him to do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In the old covenant, that's the law, right? So we got to keep it, right?
Right. Remember, we read that 2 weeks ago. The old covenant and the new covenant is exactly the same.
Same. Just different people saying different stuff.
You want to read that again, Mother? What the old covenant and the new covenant is?
They the same. We just, I guess, at a different time.
Get a little refresher.
Yeah. Okay. Let's read it. Let's go to Hebrews first. Hold your place right there. We're coming back to this, but we got Sister Johanna pick up verse 7.
Okay. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 7.
And read through 10.
Okay. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, the people, he says, Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahweh. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yah. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them an Elohim, and they shall be to me a people.
Praise Yah. Again explains it, right?
Yeah.
For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yah. I will put my laws into their mind and write my laws into their hearts. And I will be to them an Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. Now, under the first covenant, he told them the 10 commandments, and then he gave Moses the 613 laws, statutes, and judgments that went with it. And he said, if you will do this, then I will be your Elohim, and you'll be my people. The new covenant, he's not going to give us that choice.
Right.
He's going to write the laws into our hearts and in our mind and put it in our minds. We won't have a choice in that. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
But it's the same law before he gave our fathers a choice. And we didn't keep it. John just read that. Having fault with them, finding fault with them, meaning the people, right? So that's the problem. It wasn't the law itself. It was the fact that the people didn't keep the law. So this time, when Yahshua returns, the law is going to be written in our hearts. Okay, now that he was quoting here in the scripture in the book of Jeremiah. So now let's go back and read Jeremiah. Jeremiah 30.
31 and 31.
31, 31. Okay. Jeremiah 31, verse 31 through 34.
Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they broke.
That's why in the New Testament it says for finding fault with them, right? But so because we broke his covenant when our fathers came out of Egypt, he gave us the covenant, which are the 10 commandments on Mount Sinai. And we partook in the covenant, and we said all that Yahweh said we will do and be obedient. But we broke the covenant. Right? Okay, go ahead, sister.
Although I was an husband unto them, saith Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yahweh. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people.
Praise Yah. So the inward parts is the brain, because he said the brain and in the heart. In the New Testament, here he's saying inward parts. So in the brain, and write it in their hearts.
Correct.
Go ahead, sister.
Verse 34. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me. From the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith Yahweh, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
Praise Yah. Skip over to chapter 32, my sister. 32, Jeremiah 32, 37 through 40.
Thus, behold, I will gather them out of all countries, whither I have driven them in mine anger and in my fury, and in great wrath, and I will bring them again into this place. And I will cause them to dwell safely, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God.
Amen.
And I will give them one heart and one way, and they may fear me. That they may fear me forever, for the good of them and of their children after them.
I will give them one heart and one way.
Yes.
He said, but this is going to be when he brings us back from all the countries where he scattered us.
Right.
And they shall be my people, and I will be their Elohim. And I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever, for the good of them and of their children after them. Verse 40, sister.
Verse 40. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them, that I will not turn away from them to do them good, but I will put my fear in their hearts, that they shall not depart from me. Yea, I will rejoice over them to do them good, and I will plant them in this land assuredly with my whole heart and with my whole soul.
Amen. And sister, pick up chapter 33, verse 14. Jeremiah 33, verse 14.
Sounds like some sure promises to me.
Amen. An everlasting promise, right? Everlasting covenant. So even though we broke it, it's still an everlasting covenant.
Yeah.
He's going to re-enjoin it to us. The same people that he did when he brought them out of Egypt.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 33, verse 14. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel and unto the house of Judah. And in those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David.
Christ.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land.
He shall execute judgment and righteousness.
Praise Yah.
First, he's got to judge, right? Put down our rule, kill off the folks that won't do what won't come under the bonds of the covenant, and then righteousness will fill the land from seashore to seashore.
Praise Yah. Verse 16. In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely, and this is the name wherewith she shall be called. Yahweh our righteousness.
In those days shall the house of Yehuda receive salvation. That's why Christ said salvation is of the Jews.
Right.
Not everybody.
Right.
The Jews are going to be saved from wrath and from being destroyed by all the nations that's just going to come up against us in the wilderness, right? Praise Yah. Okay, go ahead. Keep on reading, sister.
Verse 17. For thus saith Yahweh, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. Neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings and to do sacrifice continually. And the word of Yahweh came unto Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, if you can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, and that there should not be day and night in their season.
And you have to stop there and ask the question, do we still have day and night?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do we? Yes. He said, if you can break my covenant with day and my covenant with night, that there should not be day and night in their season. Okay, verse 21, sister.
Then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites the priests my ministers.
The house of Judah and the house of Levi.
Praise Yah.
Praise Yah. The ruling house and the priestly house to tell us what's good and what's holy versus what's unclean and impure. Teach us the law.
Right. You know, in the 12, the 12 patriarchs, the Testament of the 12 patriarchs, it dealt a lot with both Judah as
Levi.
well as Levi.
Yes,
And it
praise
spoke
God.
about all of the other brothers were to look to them and follow them because they were going to teach them righteously.
Right.
And even
Because of the blessing.
Exactly. And that was the same thing also with Jubilees. It kept speaking to
Judah
they were the
and
ones that
Levi.
were chosen.
Praise Yah,
They were the
praise
ones
Yah.
that were chosen.
And that
And now, my children, be obedient to Levi and to Judah. Do not exalt yourselves above these two tribes, because from them will arise the Savior come from the Most High. For the Most High will raise up from Levi someone as high priest, and from Judah someone as king, God and man. He will save all the Gentiles and the tribe of Israel. For this reason I command these things to you, and you command them to your children, so that they may observe them in their successive generations. Chapter 8.
That's why it's so important that the ultimate high priest that gave his life for us came out of Judah. But the works, the actual the deeds of the Levites was to teach the people. Yahshua did both.
Okay,
He
right,
is going to be a
right.
high
Embodied
priest
something.
sitting on his throne.
There you go.
That's the beauty of this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's taken both the theocracy and the political leader, the throne, right? And made one, who is Yahshua.
Right.
But the under priests are still going to be the Levites.
Right.
Yahshua is the high priest, but he
Right.
came out of Judah. So Judah, the lion of the tribe of Judah, is also our high priest.
Yes.
Because that's why he said, which of you convict me of sin? You know I'm sinless among you. He saw the only sin he had was being hung up on that tree for us.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, sister. Verse 22.
Powerful.
Verse 22. As the host of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea measured, so will I multiply the seed of David my servant, and the Levites that minister unto me. Moreover,
Hold on. As the host of heaven cannot be numbered. That's just one part of heaven, right? Because we know there are many heavens. The host of the heaven that we see, that we know, they've never been able to measure or number the host of heaven, all the stars. They can't measure them. And you know you cannot count the sand of the sea.
Absolutely.
Huh? We may take a little handful back from our journey on the beach,
It can't count
but you
that.
can't count it.
It's like, please.
He's asking another question. As the host of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea measured, so will I multiply the seed of David my servant and the Levites that minister unto me. Praise Yah. Okay, go ahead, sister. Verse 23. Read through 26.
moreover, the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah, saying, Considereth you not what this people have spoken, saying, the two families which Yahweh hath chosen, he hath even cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should no more be a nation before them.
Are we?
No.
Are we a nation before Yah or before the nations?
No.
Do we have a representative at at NATO?
You
At the UN? Do we have a Hebrew Israelite king sitting there
No.
on our behalf?
No.
So he said, consider you not what this people, meaning the nations, have spoken, saying, the two families, Judah, the house of Judah, and the house of Israel, under the leadership of Ephraim, the two families which Yahweh has chosen, Yah has cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should no more be a nation before them. Now you remember in Romans we read, he said, in Romans was it chapter 2, we read this the last class. He said, has Yah cast away his people, which he foreknew?
Right.
Yah forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin. Didn't he tell him that?
Yes, he did.
That's in chapter... Oh, we haven't read that yet. Okay, we're going to read it then. Yeah, so Paul spoke on this very thing. Yah has not cast away his people, which he foreknew. He didn't put them in slavery. He's blinded them as to who they are, except for those he want to know. But the rest are blinded.
That's right.
But he has never cast us away. I don't care how much the nations hate us.
That's right.
I don't care how much they kill us off. They will never destroy the seed of Israel. Okay, go ahead, sis. You finished that?
Yes.
Yes.
I was up to
verse
24.
26. Oh, you did 20. Okay, do 25.
Thus saith Yahweh, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinance of heaven and earth, then will I cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them.
Praise Yah.
Praise God.
So Yah has made many covenants,
Yes.
right? It's just, he made a covenant when he set the sun up in the sky. He said, you're going to be the light by day.
Yes.
You got to make that circuit, make it a whole year, that circuit, but you're the light by day. Moon, you're the light by night, and the stars. That covenant has not been broken. So he says, verse 25, thus saith Yah, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of what? Heaven and earth, which Yahshua said was his two witnesses, right?
Right.
Then will I cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of David's seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And who of the seed of David did he choose to be a ruler? Yahshua,
Yes.
the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Excuse me. And for I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
And so when he's saying their captivity to return, mean turn to turn it back.
Turn it back.
Yeah.
Return to where there's no captivity,
Yeah.
right? Captivity, no captivity.
Yes.
Praise Yah. We were the head, we became the tail.
Yeah.
When he returns, we're going to be the head. They will become the tail. That's
It's
fair.
gonna return.
Yeah, that's fair, right?
Yeah.
But this is an everlasting covenant. Now let's go read it.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Let's go back to Genesis chapter 17. Do you feel like reading?
Yeah, let's see. Okay.
You're going to read 1 through 14, and then you're going to skip down
Okay.
to verse 22.
Okay. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, I should say.
So
Yahweh-
99, right?
Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty Elohim. Walk before me and be thou perfect.
Walk before me and be you perfect. Wow. How did Abraham know what perfection was?
Yeah.
Yahweh told him.
Yeah.
Elohim gave him explicit directions as to what perfection was. That's how he was supposed to walk before him. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Verse 2. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and thou shalt be a father to many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, and their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be an Elohim unto thee, and to thy seed after thee.
Praise Yah.
And I will give unto thee, and to thy seed after thee, the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their Elohim.
Praise Yah. So he told Abraham, he said, walk before me and be perfect, right? And he said, and I'm going to make you exceeding fruitful, verse 6. And I will make nations of you. You're going to be a father of many nations, right? And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you, in their generations for an what? An everlasting covenant, to be an Elohim unto them and to their seed after them. And I will give unto you and to your seed after you the land wherein you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their Elohim. Go ahead, sister.
Powerful.
Verse 9. Anybody got questions about that or comments?
You know, it's beautiful. You know how, and this will tell you just how important covenants, the covenants that Yah has made with His people are. You see how we've just read, where it's repeated in the old, it's repeated in the new, it's repeated all throughout several different
all
times, all throughout. Right, exactly. Then of course all throughout all the additional books, you know, because it's repeated in Apocalypse of Abraham, it's repeated in Jubilees, it's repeated everywhere. I mean, it's amazing and it's consistent. It's consistent.
Yeah.
So for man to not acknowledge the importance of covenants, because when you hear people speak about covenants, they're talking something personal.
Yes.
Now, this is to His people.
Right.
Yes.
Covenant with His people.
And it's for you to walk before me and be you perfect.
Absolutely. That's part. That's the
What
deal.
covenant
It's the deal.
is, right.
Do what
and
I
if
say
you
do.
do that,
Yeah. There
then
you go.
I'm going to be your Elohim, and you're
Right.
going to be my people, and
Right.
you're going to inherit Eden.
Praise Yah.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Praise Yah.
Yeah.
That's what the everlasting covenant is all about. And you're right, sister. The very reason they changed the word from covenant to testament is because they don't want to do nothing Yahweh say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they figure when they dead, then all the blessings of Yahshua will come upon them. What sense do that make?
Right.
No. The covenant is to walk in it.
Yes.
You got to be alive and understand it and know it, fear Yah, and walk in His ways to be enjoined to the covenant.
Praise Yah.
Otherwise, you're a breaker of the covenant.
Right. And not a part of it.
And not a part of it. Praise Yah. And He gave it to His people, but He also gave away for any nation, because He's a father of all people, right?
Yeah, that's right.
To be enjoined with His people to take part in that covenant.
Right. Right.
And look what they did to it.
Right.
Look what they did to His people.
Right.
You know, in Revelations, when it says outside of the city, dogs and liars and all, and that's because what? They're not part of the covenant.
Right.
Exactly, my sister.
Right.
Praise Yah.
Verse 9, I think. Okay. And Elohim said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you.
So the covenant is not circumcision.
Right.
Circumcision is a covenant, is a token of the covenant.
Right.
The everlasting covenant is you walk before me and be perfect, then I'm going to be your Elohim, you're going to be my people, and you're going to inherit all of my holy land. Right?
Exactly.
The token is circumcision.
Yes.
So He told Abraham that very day, circumcise everyone that is in your home, everyone that is born of you. He only had one child when this was said, and that was Ishmael, who was not going to be the covenanted receiver, right? It was going to be Isaac. And He also told him to circumcise everybody that was born and male in his house and that was bought with his money. That included all the other nations right there.
Yeah.
So if they had faith, the nations, like Elder Abraham, then they would be included
Right.
as Abraham's children.
And joined in the covenant.
Right.
It was a shadow of that which was to come in the New Testament.
Exactly.
Right.
Because
And
it was always open to them.
Right.
Always.
Because if not, why
Always.
would they be circumcised?
Praise Yah. And they have
Yeah.
continued circumcision into this day. They don't do it as much as they used to.
Right.
But even in the New Testament, when they first told him, okay, we're not going to enjoin that to you, the Gentiles still did it.
They did it anyway.
Because they told him, you have Moses preach to you every week on the Sabbath day. So they heard about circumcision and they took it on at first.
Right.
So we're going to see that just like he told them then, back in Genesis, that anyone that was bought with your money, that means a slave or servant, anyone that's born in your house or your own seed, had to have the seed of the sign of circumcision. And then we're going to see why they put that aside for the Gentiles in the New Testament, although the Gentiles continue to do it. And then we're going to see tonight that the covenant of circumcision, or that token of circumcision, they will not be able to enter into the kingdom without being circumcised. None of them. Okay. Praise Yah.
So maybe some of us who were not circumcised, the same thing would apply.
What?
I'm saying, I'm sure.
As far as not being circumcised, us, if we're not circumcised, we're going to die.
Right. So break his.
We can
if you don't
read that.
circumcise, you break his neck.
Right. If
But-
Israel is not circumcised,
Before they come
will
into
die.
the kingdom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So pick it up, my sister, at verse
10 or 11?
Yes. Where'd you
I think 11.
pick up 10 again?
Okay. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house, or bought with money,
Or any stranger, which is not of thy seed. Now, that's interesting. Yeah. Any stranger. Right.
He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant.
You hear that? And see, our people are getting into this mess now, where, oh no, I'm not going to circumcise my son. What?
That's amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
It's clear.
You'd be surprised that a lot of people now don't feel like that's a thing to do.
I think,
And how that's come from a token of this everlasting covenant that Yah made to just an issue of cleanliness, I don't understand. But it's lack of knowledge of the word of Yah. That's all. Okay.
You know what's amazing? As far as, just like we were just reading about the 8th day, and it says it all over the place, that they have to be circumcised on the 8th day.
Right.
It's amazing. Circumcision is concerned. It says the 8th day. When they're born, it is not until the 8th day of life whereby they have enough clotting power and in order to not bleed out.
Wow.
Now,
I didn't
on
know
that
that.
8th day, that vitamin K, which controls that clotting power, is at the peak of their entire life. It'll never be that high again.
Praise Yah.
So it gets higher and higher up until that 8th day. It peaks, and then it goes down from there.
Right.
So now that's connected with this, whereby, I don't know if you're familiar, but when a son is coming in, and they generally do this with all the children, but they give them a shot of vitamin K.
Yeah.
Now, without that vitamin K, they don't tell you that vitamin K is directly connected to that circumcision, because if it's not done, it can
The child will bleed out. Right.
So therefore, that it's on that 8th day, which is when Yah told us that is when it's supposed to happen, because that would be perfect. And then you don't have to give that vitamin K.
Naturally on the 8th day.
Because Yah made it that way.
okay, so you're saying in the hospitals,
In the hospital,
This is what they
to
give.
combat what Yah
right, the
has
bleeding
stated.
out, right.
What they do
They
is
do it on the first.
they do it on the first day, or
Right.
second
Okay.
day, whenever
They
they
do.
decide
They give them
to.
that shot on the first day.
They
so
give
they
them
can
that
give
shot
them the
so that they can
circumcision
go
on the
ahead and
second.
do that circumcision, because
Isn't
without
that
that
sad?
shot, they
Never
can
knew
die.
that.
And yes,
Right.
because they're
They bleed
supposed to rightfully and spiritually wait until that 8th day, like Yah
Right,
told
in
us
their
to.
body
Praise
naturally.
God.
Absolutely.
Well, pick up 19 because I want to make sure you.
Okay. And Elohim said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear a son, indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
Mm-hmm.
And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation.
Mm-hmm.
But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year.
Praise Yah.
And he left off talking with him, and Elohim went up from Abraham.
Elohim talked to Abraham
Yeah.
face to face.
Yeah.
That was his friend.
Yes.
With Abraham face to face. It says, and he left off talking with him, and Elohim went up from Abraham. Okay, go ahead, sister. Verse 23.
That's amazing. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day, as Elohim had said unto him.
So Isaac was the first one that was circumcised on the 8th day, right? He told him, take every male in your house and circumcise him, starting with you. He was 99 years old, right? So Yah allowed them to fulfill that token.
Yeah.
Isaac was the first one to receive that token of circumcision on the 8th day of his birth.
Right.
Praise Yah.
Huh.
Hallelujah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, comments about the covenant and the token of the covenant, which is circumcision, which is why the Jews are called the circumcision.
That's right.
Everybody else is called the uncircumcision. Got it?
Got it.
Got it. Okay, go back to Romans.
You know what also you just said, it made me think of it, in the fact that in Abraham's house, everyone bought with his money or born in his home and everything else. That is directly connected with that they will go with you and go with the Jews because they know that is with you. Exactly. Same thing, because they are under the wing of Abraham. So therefore, in the future, also being under the wing, they said, "We will go with you under the wing of the Jews."
Praise Yah. Exactly. If you walk the way that the Jews walk or are supposed to walk, then you're Yah's people too. Right? You're proselytes to our way of life.
Right.
And this is what Paul was in the process of doing for the Gentiles, is bringing them under the wing of the Jews.
Right.
To be a part of Yah's family.
Right. And then when you go to Romans 11, and it talks about that they just did the opposite.
Yes.
To try to take over.
Yes. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. And then and turn around everything he was saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And they did a good job of it too. Okay, chapter 4. And remember, we just read, did the everlasting covenant come to Abraham in circumcision or in uncircumcision? And he gave him that everlasting covenant when he was not circumcised. Right? And then he told him what the token of the covenant would be, and then he circumcised everyone, right? The very next year when Isaac was born, he circumcised him.
Right.
Okay. Let's go back to chapter 4.
Romans
And I'll
4?
pick this up. Romans chapter 4.
Okay, 1 second.
Now remember all the things we just read in reading the everlasting covenant and the token of the covenant. Let me know when you all are there. Okay, I'm going to read verse 9 again. Come this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or the Jews only, or upon the uncircumcision also. For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness. How was it reckoned? When Abraham was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision. Everybody there? Y'all got that? Cheryl, Mother Dot?
I'm with you.
Okay. Verse 11. And Abraham received the sign of circumcision. What was that? That's the token, right? Which is circumcision.
Right.
He received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith which he had yet being uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believe, though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed unto them also.
Oh, wow.
Verse 12. And the father of circumcision, who is Abraham, right? To them who are not of the circumcision, meaning Abraham's seed.
Okay.
Only, let me read that again.
And the father.
That righteousness might be imputed unto them also. And the father of circumcision to them who are not of the circumcision, but who also walk in the steps of that faith of our father Abraham, which he had being yet uncircumcised. What was the faith that he had? Yahweh said, walk before me and be you perfect. And he said, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. He listened and he feared and he did what Elohim told him to do. And he did it. And Yahweh enjoined that everlasting covenant to him, gave him the token of circumcision, not only for his house, but also for the stranger, right?
Right.
The stranger also had to what? Walk in his ways. Praise Yah. Verse 13. For the promise that Abraham should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. Because the law didn't come for another 400 years, written down by Moses, right? Verse 14. For if they which are of the law be heirs, faith is made void, and the promise made of none effect. Now remember, Paul is talking to the Gentiles, trying to get them to understand how they can become a part of the covenanted people, right? That's why he said what he just said. For if they which are of the law, meaning the Jews, be heirs, it should say heirs only. So I'm going to read it to say only, and y'all see if you get a different feel. For if the Jews which are of the law be heirs only, faith is made void, and the promise made of no effect. Because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. Therefore it is of faith, that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all the seed, not to that only which is of the law, meaning the Jews, but to that also which is of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. As it is written, I have made you, Abraham, a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even Elohim, who quickened the dead and called those things which be not as though they were, who against hope, meaning Abraham, right, believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations. He was 99 years old and he hadn't yet had a child, right? So he believed that Yah was going to make him the father of many nations. Okay. According to that which was spoken, so shall your seed be. And Abraham, being not weak in faith, considered not his own body now dead, when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarai's womb. Abraham didn't stagger at the promise of Yah through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to Yah, and being fully persuaded that what Yah had promised, he was able also to perform. For therefore it was imputed to Abraham for righteousness, because he believed. He had faith that what Yahweh was telling him, it was going to happen. Verse 23. Now, it was not written for Abraham's sake alone that it was imputed to him, but for us also, to whom it shall be imputed, if we believe on him that raised up Yahshua, our Adonai, from the dead, who is Yah, right? Who was delivered for our offenses for us breaking the law, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Yahshua was raised again for our what? Justification of breaking that law. Chapter 5, verse 1. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with Yah through our Adonai Yahshua, the Anointed One, by whom also we have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of Yah. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, don't we all?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope.
Mm-hmm.
And hope make not ashamed, because the love of Yah is shed abroad in our hearts by the Ruach HaKodesh, which is given unto us. For when we were yet without strength, in due time the Mashiach died for the ungodly.
Mm-hmm.
For scarcely for a righteous man would one die, yet perhaps for a good man some would even dare to die. But Yah commanded his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, the Mashiach died for us.
Yes.
Much more then, being justified by the Mashiach's blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him.
Mm-hmm.
For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to Yah by the death of his Son, much more, being reconciled, we shall be saved by his Son's life.
Mm-hmm.
And not only so, but we also joy in the Mashiach, in Yah, through our Adonai Yahshua the Christ, by whom we have now received the atonement. Y'all hear all this law this brother is talking?
Yes.
Judgment, deeds of the law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all hear all this? Verse 11 again. And not only so, but we also joy in Yah through the Adonai Yahshua the Christ, by whom we have now received the atonement.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that? Once a year, your sins can be forgiven. You under the covenant now.
Yes.
Just like you said last week, a week before last. You are freed, or you are forgiven of sins that are past when you come under the baptism.
Mm-hmm.
But then you start racking up sin again, don't you? Not the same way you did when you didn't have knowledge of the law.
Yeah.
But still with flesh.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so every year the atonement sets us free.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important to keep the Passover and the atonement.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us time to have another free pass. Yahshua was not only the Passover sacrifice, he was the atonement sacrifice.
Yes.
We're still talking about under his blood.
That's right.
That justifies us. That's why we are racing to keep these days.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know we are flesh sold under sin.
Yes. Yes.
Would God
Yes.
it were morning. Would God it were evening. Hallelujah. Romans chapter 5, and we're going to pick it up at verse 12. Wherefore, as by one man sin into the world, who is that one man where sin entered into the world? Adam.
Mm-hmm.
By one man, sin entered into the world. That's Adam, right? And death by sin, because he said, the day you disobey me, you're going to die, right? And Jonah has been sharing with us that in the book of Jubilees, although he lived to be 960 some years old, he still died before that day, which is 1,000 years to the Most High. He died before that 1,000 years. All right, so, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. For until the law, which was at Moses' time, right? Sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no, I should say, written law.
Right.
Right? And so even though man died because they sinned from Adam to Moses, it wasn't imputed to them. They died because of the generational sin that was in the earth. right? But Yah could not hold them accountable for their sins because he had not written it down and given it to every man.
So only those laws that they were already knowing.
Exactly. Okay, verse 13 again. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over them that had not sinned after the same kind of sin of Adam's transgression, who is the figure of him that was to come. Who? Adam. Yahshua is the second man, Adam. Verse 15. But not as the offense, so also is the free gift. For if through the offense of one, through the offense of Adam, many be dead, much more the grace of Yah, and the gift by grace, which is by one man, Yahshua the Mashiach, has abounded unto many. And not as it was by one that sinned, so is the gift. For the judgment was by one to condemnation, but the free gift is of many offenses unto justification. Everybody following that? So Yahshua's death meant a lot of offenses were cleared, right? Once you come under that bond. I mean, you personally have a lot of sin. Can you imagine the many that was under, that came under the bonds of the covenant? So the free gift is of many offenses unto what? Justification of life. But under Adam, one died and each person died accordingly, right? Okay, verse 17. Excuse me. For if by one man's offense death reigned by one, much more they which receive abundance of grace and of the gift of righteousness shall reign in life by one, Yahshua the Mashiach. Therefore, as by the offense of one judgment came upon all men to condemnation, even so by the righteousness of one the free gift came upon all men unto justification of life. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. Moreover, the law entered, here we come down to Moses' time, the law entered that the offense might abound. But where sin abounded, grace did much more abound. That as sin has reigned unto death, even so might grace reign through righteousness unto eternal life by Yahshua the Mashiach our Adonai. Amen. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 20. But now is the Mashiach risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by Adam, right? Came death, by man also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in the Mashiach shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order. The Mashiach, the first fruits, afterwards they that are the Mashiachs at his coming. All right, skip over to verse 45. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last man, Adam, was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit that, yes, Yahshua. Howbeit that was not first which is spiritual, but that which was natural, and afterward that which was spiritual. The first man is of the earth, Adam, right? Earthy. The second man is the Adonai from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Yah, neither do corruption inherit incorruption. Now, this whole chapter is about the resurrection from the dead. You got to know. But because he spoke about the first man, Adam, and then Yahshua being the second man, Adam, I thought I would read this because it's really talking about the same thing. Death came by one through sin, which is Adam. Everlasting life came by one through righteousness, which is the Mashiach. Okay? All right, let's go back to Romans 6, verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? That's a question, isn't it?
Okay.
What's the answer? Verse 2. Yah forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Now, what does the law do? It teaches you what sin is, doesn't it? It teaches you that if you break the law, you're a transgressor. Okay, verse 3. Know you not that so many of us as were baptized into Yahshua the Mashiach were baptized unto his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism unto death, that like as the Mashiach was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life when we are raised from baptism. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with the Mashiach, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not what? Serve sin. Didn't say that you weren't going to sin, but you're no longer a servant of sin because you now know how to walk in the law. Huh? You're a servant of the Most High now. Walking in the law. Verse 7. For he that is dead is freed from sin. When you go into that water, it's like a burial. And then you are resurrected. Verse 8. Now, if we be dead with the Mashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that the Mashiach, being raised from the dead, dieth no more. Death hath no more dominion over him. For in that the Mashiach died, he died unto sin once. But in that he liveth unto Yah. Likewise, reckon you also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto Yah through the Mashiach Yahshua our Adonai. Let not sin, therefore, reign in your mortal body, that you should obey it in the lust thereof. How powerful is that?
That's very powerful.
Don't let sin reign in your mortal body like it did before you knew what sin was.
You did what you wanted to do.
Because you didn't know. What did you have to compare it to?
Nothing.
We did everything that the law said don't do before Yah brought it to our attention that that's wrong. Verse 13. Neither yield you your members, your body parts, as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves or your body parts unto Yah, as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto Yah. For sin shall not have what? Dominion, rulership over you. For you are not under the law, but under grace. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Yah forbid. Remember, Paul's writings are hard to be understood. But if you put this in context of him talking about you are no longer under the works of the law, the animal sacrifices, then you completely understand what he's saying. Verse 15 again.
Getting confused, right, when they say
you're no longer under the law.
Law, but we are under grace. Know what it is. We are under the law.
You are under the law, and the grace is what? That Yahshua's blood will cover your sins if you walk in the law. If sin no longer has what? rulership over you like it did before you knew. Right.
Yeah, power over you now.
Praise
you understand.
Because you know what sin is now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why he said, verse 15, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law or the works of the law, but under grace? Yah forbid. Know you not that to whom you yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants you are to whom you obey, whether of sin unto death, or of obedience unto righteousness. But Yah be thanked that you were the servants of sin. You were the servants of Lucifer, weren't you? But you have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered to you. Being then made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness. You were made free from sin because now you know what sin is.
Yeah.
Okay, verse 19. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as you have yielded your members servants to what? Uncleanness and to iniquity unto iniquity. Even so now yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness. For when you were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness, because you were so far from righteousness that you didn't know, you didn't have nothing, you were nothing else but the child of the devil. Tell you, verse 21. What fruit had you then in those things whereof you are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death. What? Sin. But now being made free from sin and become the servants to Yah, you have your fruit unto holiness, and the end, everlasting life. For the wages of sin, now we work to receive wages, right? Okay, well, if your work is all about breaking Yah's law, the wages of sin is what?
Yeah.
In other words, your payment for breaking the law is death. But the gift of Yah is eternal life through Yahshua the Mashiach our Adonai. Chapter 7. Know you not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives? For the woman which have a husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. So then, if while her husband liveth she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. Wherefore, my brethren, you also are become dead to the law by the body of the Mashiach, that you should be married or joined to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto Yah. For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sin, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivered from the law, or the works of the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of the spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. No, I had not known sin but through the law. For I had not known lust except the law had said, you shall not covet. Are y'all hearing this? But sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscences. For without the law, sin was dead. But for while I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. He was alive without the law. What does that mean? He was alive he grew up walking in the law. He was a Pharisee of Pharisees, right? So he knew the law. So what he's talking about is he was walking in and dealing with the animal sacrifices. Mm-hmm. And those animal sacrifices kept him from seeing the spirituality of walking in the law. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he said, for I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. Mm-hmm. What commandment? That you should keep the law. If you walk in the law, you don't have to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. There's no need for sacrifice. So he died and he became baptized. Sins were erased, right? And now he's alive to righteousness, walking in the law again, knowing how important it is to walk in the law and not so important to kill an animal. Right. Because he can no longer kill the Messiah. Mm-hmm. Verse 10. And the commandment which was ordained to life I found to be unto death. What commandment? To kill an animal. The animal sacrifices. Those were the things they thought was justifying their sins. Okay, verse 13. For sin, taking occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew me. 13? That was 11, rather. Verse 11. For sin, taking occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew me. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? Yah forbid. But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. And that's because our forefathers did not have real consciousness of the acts of sin that they were committing. Mm-hmm. All they cared about was having the right animal sacrifices to cover it. Right. That's right. So the walking in the sin wasn't on their consciousness. They just knew they had to get that animal. That's right. That was more important than walking in the law was. Yes. And that's why he said, wherefore the law is holy and it's good, but it was me. Mm-hmm. He said, but sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. Couldn't have said it better. Listen, y'all. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that I do. That's that spirit warring against the flesh, isn't it? That's the same war that we have in our flesh. You know you're not supposed to do this or do that, but the flesh war against you all the time. That's right. This is verse 16. For then I do that which I would not. I consent unto the law that it is good. You make an excuse and you say it'll be all right. It's all right. Yeah. Verse 17. Now then, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. Then we start off reading, he said, that there's none that is righteous, no, not one. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not. For the good that I would, I don't do. But the evil which I would not do, that I do. Ooh, he was talking. The devil made me do it. You know, man has not changed. Since the beginning. Since Adam, man has not changed. What did Adam do the minute he sinned? The woman. What the woman say? The devil. Right. It's the same old story.
Yes,
But if you're a servant of the Most High, you feel awful when you commit these sins, these trespasses.
Yes.
Just like Paul is writing this, he feels terrible that he can't every day, all day, walk in the commandments. Know that he's carnal, sold under sin. What verse was I?
20.
Verse 20. Now, if I do that, I would not. It is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of Yah after the inward man. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. What are your members? Your fingers, your hands, your taste, your smell, all those things. Verse 24. Oh, wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank Yah through Yahshua the Mashiach, our Adonai. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of Yah, but with the flesh, the law of sin.
That nailed it.
Isn't that deep? This is a battle that we all struggle with every day. And we must pray every day that Yah sends his angels to help us to keep us in the way that we should go. But when you do sin, you cannot wallow in it and lay there. You got to pray about it, ask for forgiveness. And if it's to one of our own people that we've sinned against, ask for their forgiveness, right? Hate yourself, because truly, what did he say in verse 25? So then with the mind, I myself serve the law of Yah. We want to do right. But with the flesh, the law of sin. That's the war, sisters, every single day.